Welcome back, guys. In last session, we discussed about calculations and KPIs. Let's talk about the actions, and then we can see the different processing options in the same session. So first, let's talk about the action. What is action? So it's kind of an event, like if a particular event occurred, what action needs to be taken. So it's like a button click event in your .NET pages or mouse over event in your .NET or Java pages. Like if the mouse is over, then it will do some action, right? Similarly, you can define actions in analysis services. So the I mean, at high level, if anyone asks you how many types of actions are there, there are three. One is reporting action, one is drill through action, and another one is standard action. And among these three, the most important one is drill through action. First, let's see what is this drill through action. So you have a high level data, and when you click on it or when you select this action, it will drill through into the detailed level information. Let's say I have a report saying that year and sales amount. If I click here, it should display month wise sales amount or quarter-wise sales amount. So you will be getting detailed information when you click on that report. It all depends on how we configure the drill through. Drill through means it will drill through into the next level of reporting or next detailed level of reporting. Let me show you an example so that you will get clear picture about this. So first, what you need to do is you need to select the option here. If you click on this, a new drill through action will be added to your actions page. So you need to give a proper name. Let's say detailed sales. And on what the action target means, like where on right click of which cell or which target you want to show this option. So I'm selecting the fact internet sales. That means when I right click on the measures, then it will be showing the action to use. And the condition is optional. You can give some condition to show or to hide this. And the main important thing is the drill through columns. What columns it should show if you want to, if you click on this drill through action. So for that, let me select product, and from here I would like to see product category and color and English product name. If I click on OK, this is the simplest drill through action that you can define. Now let me quickly process it. And we can see the drill through action in Excel sheets. Okay, the queue processed, and let me go to the browser, reconnect. Here it is, and let me connect to the Excel sheet. I prefer to see these actions in Excel. And let me select fleet amount, and let me select, let's say, employee first name. Okay, these are the measure, one measure I selected. And if you see under additional actions, I can see the detailed sales. This is what I have given, right? The name of the action, drill through action. If I click on this, it will give me the detailed sales, whatever I have opted for. I opted for English product name and color. So it is giving me two product names and color because I selected on, I think, this value. So the first name with ME has related to those two products. Now let me click on something else, Abigail. If I go to the actions, if I click on drill to action, you can see the products and the colors that are related to the particular guy. It will take that guy's first name, and it will filter the products and the color related to that guy. Similarly, I can go for some small value so that there should be very small little number of products and colors. So this is how the drill through action works. The drill through basically drill through into the detailed level of information. This is how it works in Excel sheet. If you want to see the drill through in action. Let's see Abhijit. He has very less number of amount of freight. I think he'll have only one or two products, as you can see here. So this is the simplest drill through report which we have created. And if you go back to the actions, there are so many other properties. Like if you see the condition, the first one, condition is basically to limit okay, show this action only when it is Abhijit and don't show when it is anyone else, something like that. Let me say write a simple expression in MDX. So let me go to the customer, reconnect, and I think it's first name, right, Abhijit? Okay, first name dot current member is Abhijit. I think it will be at the top. So it will show the action only when the customer is Abhijit, because I have written a condition to filter this action, like only display the action when the condition that I've given met. Now let me quickly deploy and refresh the Excel sheet. This is finished. And let me go to the data, refresh all. And now let me right click on this guy, and you can see the detailed action is still showing. And let me check whether this is still showing here for the Abigail. It's not showing, no actions defined, because I set a condition to see if the first name of the customer is Abhijit, then only show this action and don't show this action for the remaining guys. So this is a simple what we can say, a simple condition which I set using MDX to filter out the action. In real time, you may be using complex conditions, like if the year is so and so, then only show this information. If the year, quarter, month, or go to the parallel period, you can use a lot of functions. You can see all the functions will be displayed here. You can use any function in the condition expression too. So this is about the deal through report, and you can have some additional properties which are not of high importance. The first thing is default, if you want, whether you want to set this as default or not. So if you set this as default, then if you execute the MDX query without any result return value, then this will be taken into consideration. If you execute any drill through action in MDX without return value, remember that, then it will look for this default value set, which it will look for the drill through action for which default value is set to true, then this value will be written. So this is high level of analysis services and MDX usage. So people don't go to this level in general, but I'm explaining you the additional properties too. And maximum number of rows is, you can limit the maximum number of rows that you want to display. For example, if you set it to 10, then how many records it return? I'm removing this condition for now. How many records it return, but it will display only 10 records. Let me show you that in action. So the queue processed, let me quickly refresh it. I think this guy got a lot of records, right? So if I go to the action, you can see the detailed sales is again back because I removed the condition from the action definition, and you can see it is showing, I think, only 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is how you can limit the number of return results. And what other properties we have in the additional? And invocation is more like how you want to invoke this action. If you see it as interactive, that means there will be a button on right click of this, somewhere here as I show you, there will be a button, and when you select on this button, then it will work. Or on the batch, it's like a batch command. When it triggers a batch command, or when you use some integration task, then you can invoke this particular action. And the third one is on open. Whenever you open the database, it will trigger. So whenever you connect and open the database, then it will trigger. The default one and the best one and the most frequently used one is interactive. Like users will have an option to select whenever they want to see the drill through in action. And application is just like a hint, like what kind of application, it's a hint to the users like what kind of applications can be used to open this action. So don't worry much about this. And the description is just like a textual information that you can provide, like this is to get detailed info. And caption, if you don't give anything for the caption, then it will take the name as caption. Okay. That means caption is nothing but when you right click here and go to the additional actions, whatever you're seeing here, this is what caption is. If you don't give anything in the under the caption, then it will take the name of the action. So let me give the sales info, and let me add measure to measures. I'll add let's say freight amount and sales amount, sales, tax and freight. Okay, so if you see, I've given the caption as sales info, but the action name is detailed sales, and let's see what it will be shown. And also I added a couple of measures to the drill through report. Written columns, this is what I mean to say, written columns. In MDX, if you don't specify the written columns, then this default will come into picture. That it will look for the action which has default value set to true, then it will return those values. So that is high level, you don't need to worry much about it now. So now let me right click here, go to the action, and you can see the name is sales info. And you can see the product name, color, sales amount, tax amount and freight amount. So this is how you can play with the drill through action. Now there is one more option in the under the additional options is, caption is MDX, yes or no. If you set it to true, that means this is an MDX, it will try to evaluate. So let me try to write a simple MDX. Sales info of let me add this guy. Wait, I'll try to give the current member. First name dot current member dot name. So I've written simple MDX query for the caption, and I specified caption is MDX to true, and let's see what it will show if you try to execute the action. So this is done. Let me go to the cube pivot table, and let me right click and let me see whether the action is showing or not. If you see here, it is showing as sales info of Abhi. It is getting the value dynamically, and it is concatenating and it is giving the action name as sales info of Abhi. And if I right click on Alexa, you can see sales info of Alexa. So you can make it make the what we say caption also, action caption also, a dynamic one with the help of MDX. For that you need to make use of these two properties. One is caption and the one is caption is MDX to true or false. You need to set it to true. Okay, now let's see the next type of next important action, that is reporting action. So the name itself says that reporting action is the one which calls a report. Okay, basically SSRS report. So if you design a report in SSRS, I don't have report designed here and I don't have report deployed, but I can give you a brief explanation about how the reporting action works. So the reporting action will be shown in the same way like under additional actions, okay? But here there are a few different things. Trigger report is the name, let's say I'm giving, and here you can give the target type. There in the case in the drill through, you have to select the measure group only, but here you can select attribute members, cells, cubes and so on. If you select attribute members, under the target object it will highlight all the dimensions. You can select whatever the attribute. Let's say you selected first name, then if you right click on the first name only, it will show that action. Okay, under additional actions it will show that action. Now I'm not creating it because I don't have report deployed in my server. And if you see the cells, then on any cell if you right click, this action will be shown. Cell is nothing but this, anything in the output is a cell. Okay, and similarly you can select the cube, you can select the dimension, you can select the hierarchy. Let's see, if I select the hierarchy, it will show even the attributes, and if you go to the date, it will show attributes as well as hierarchy, because attribute is also a hierarchy. That is why the name of the attribute is attribute hierarchy. If you remember the properties, it's like attribute hierarchy enabled, attribute hierarchy visible. These are the property names, because attribute by default is also a hierarchy with default two levels. One is all and another one is members in it. Let's say it has 10 members like 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for the attribute calendar year. Then It has two levels. The first level is all, and the next level is members, that is 2001 to 2010. So when you select hierarchy here in the target type, it will show all the hierarchies. And if you select levels here, if you see the difference, it will select, you can only select the hierarchies and in that levels. Okay, so the target type and target object is something that on right click of which you want to execute this particular action, or you want to show this action. So here I selected calendar year. If I right click on calendar year, then only this action will be shown. Now the condition which we have seen a couple of minutes back, you can filter out the filter it based on the conditions. Now this report server properties is very important. When you deploy the report, then you have to give the report server the server name where the report is deployed, and here you have to give the path of it. So you will get the report server name and report path when you are asked to create the reporting action. And the third one is format. What format you want to display the report? You want to display the report in PDF, Excel, HTML3 or HTML5. When you right click and select this reporting action, it can open HTML5, that means in the Internet Explorer kind of, or it can open the report in Excel, it can open the report in PDF. It depends on the selection that you are gonna make for this parameter report format. Let's say if you select PDF, and when you right click and select this action, something like this, by going here, if you select the action, it will open the PDF, the report in the PDF. But what is the report? The report is nothing but the server name and the report path you're providing, right? That report information. So once we discuss about SSRS, if any one of you guys can remind me, I can show you one reporting action for you guys by giving the server name and report server path. I don't think I have installed all this stuff, SSRS and all, in my computer. That is the problem. And the parameters is optional, it's not mandatory. If you select a report, and the report will have some parameters in few cases, not in few cases, in most of the cases, then you have to give the parameter name. Let's say country is the parameter name, and what is the value you want to pass to that, you can pass the value. So what will happen is when you select this action, this country parameter value, whatever you're the parameter value whatever you're passing here will be assigned to the country parameter in the report, and it will generate the report, and then it will render the report, and it will display the report. So that is the use of parameters, and it is optional because not all the reports will have parameters. Okay. This is okay. Let me give the name and let me delete it. Okay. These kind of issues, so many are there in the analysis service. See, I cannot delete it. Forget about that. So that is the optional parameter, and the additional properties, it again the same. Whatever you have seen in the other case, it's like invocation, how you want to invoke this particular action, and the application, and the description, caption, and caption is MDX. So these additional properties will remain same for all the different actions. So this is a brief about reporting action, but if you have a report deployed in your server, then we can demonstrate it. I'll surely, if you guys remind me, then I'll show you an example when we started working on our SSRS sessions. So that is about the reporting action. Oops, sorry, I selected the wrong one. And the third one is standard action. So if you see the standard action, there are multiple types here. One is URL, one is dataset, one is row set, one is statement, one is proprietary, and so on. Proprietary is mainly for the third-party tools. They can have their customized action, okay, defined based on their proprietary tool. And remaining three, dataset, row set, and statement, are more like executing MDX, DAX, or SQL statements. But this returns a data set, whereas this returns a row set. That's the only difference for these two, data set and the row set. And for the statement is something like DAX, MDX, or SQL statement, which will not return the value, which will not return any value. For example, insert into a table, that doesn't return any value, right? So something like that. And the URL action, as the name says, it will take you to some URL. Let's see two couple of action types. Let's say row set and the URL, and let's see how this works. First, I'm gonna create a URL action. Go to Google is the name I'm giving for this action, and level of members, and I'm selecting on, let's say, due date, hierarchy, calendar year. So when I right click on this calendar year hierarchy of the due date dimension, then only this action will be shown. And at this action I'm giving HTTP. So I'm asking the server to take me to the google.com. And additional properties, it's again the same. I'm not going to set anything for now. So let me process it quickly, and let's see the action, URL action in action. So this is the simplest URL I have provided. You can give complex URLs. I'll show you that example too, how the complex URLs can be used. So let me refresh it. And I don't have calendar year here from the due date. So let me drag that calendar year from the due date. So let me take out this because it will be pretty big. Due date, here it is. This is the hierarchy, and this is the calendar year. And if I drag and drop this, this is the hierarchy, and you can see it has multiple levels that I have defined in the hierarchy, that is semester and quarter. Now if I right click here, and if I go to the additional actions, you can see there is an action defined, go to Google. If I click on this, what it will do is it will trigger that URL. That URL says www.google.com. That's why it is going to google.com. Similarly, let's assume I think I have a territory, right? Let me try to show you something. Europe, is the spelling correct? Oh, sorry, Europe. I'm sorry. Okay, so if I click on this, this is taking me to Europe, right? And this is the URL for taking you to Europe. Fine. Now what I can do here is I can take this URL and I can go to the action, and I can define I can add this, but here only at this level. Instead of making it dynamic, I think this is Europe. If you pass the Europe, it will take you to Europe, I guess. So instead of this one, what I'm doing here is I'm making it as a dynamic one. You see what I mean? We have a sales territory, right, dimension, which we created. Here it is, sales territory, and let me reconnect it. Under that we have sales region. We do have country also, that's good. Sales region, and let me select this guy. Okay. Oops, this is torturing. For every character it is taking me to the end. Let me do it in the notepad and paste it over there. So what will happen if I select Europe here? If I right click on Europe, what will happen? It will be like it will take the current member, and the current member is Europe. I hope it will take you to the Europe map. Let's see, let's give it a try. Nothing wrong in giving a try, right? So I'll link it to the members, attribute members, and I'll select sales territory, and I'm selecting sales territory region. So when I right click on this, then this will be triggered. And also under additional properties, I'm giving a different name for this in MDX. The name that I'm giving for, the caption that I'm giving for this one is, this is really ridiculous, take me to, I'll copy this guy. The name will be something like take me to Europe or take me to Pacific and so on. Okay. and is MDX should be set to true. It is already set to true. And now let me quickly process it. So the name of the action is go to Google, but the expression that I've given is like Google, but it will take me to Europe or Pacific, whatever I select, and it will be on the attribute sales territory group where you will have Europe and Pacific, and the caption should be like take me to Europe or take me to something like that. So let me refresh the Excel, and this is not the one I'm interested in because I defined the action on sales territory group. Let me go to sales territory group. Here it is. If I select this, okay, let me see whether the action is showing. Oops, something wrong in the in this. Let me fix this one. The action is not showing there. Okay, let me process it. I corrected the issue. Hope this works this time. Let's see. So let me click on run. If I go here, let me refresh all, and let me take out this region, and it's actually group. And now let me right click on Europe and let's see whether this action shows. If you see here, it is showing the region Europe. If you click on this region Europe, the URL action will come into picture. And if you see this, the dynamically it set the value, whatever the value that I right clicked on, it set the value Europe and the map is showing. This is just one example. You can set it for countries and so on. Let me try for North America. If you go to the action region North America, I'm not sure whether the coordinates and everything is for, yeah, it is working. I mean, if you see, this is North America, but I don't know what it is showing. So it is taking only the name is showing as North America, but the value is taking as Europe. Something wrong here. But generally the concept is here, like whatever you right click, you can provide the value. You can dynamically pass the values. You can do the same for countries information, or even address information, street view, or whatever you are interested in, or whatever your requirements is. And also let's assume there are so many internal pages like employee page. There will be an employee page, right? And there will be an employee dimension. When you right click on the employee dimension member, you can make it to navigate it to the employee page. That will be very useful to the end users. Like they are seeing the sales report of every employee. One employee is performed abnormally well, superbly well. So he want to see the employee, the details of the employee, the email or ID of the employee, the complete details of the employee. Then what he can do, right? If you define an action by taking the employee name dynamically, and if you right click and click on the action, it will take you to the employee page. Similarly, an employee didn't perform at all. I mean, his performance is damn poor. You want to see who the person is and the contact details. So if you define an action, a URL action, which will take you to the particular employee page, then it will be very useful to the end users. But in real time, these kind of actions people don't use, but this is an option provided by Microsoft, and you can make use of it if your requirement is something related to this. So this is about the URL action. Let's quickly see one more action, like let's say row set action, how that row set action works. I'll name it as row set, but all the remaining three are almost same. Now I'll link it to, let's say, level, or I'll link it to hierarchy attribute member again, and I'll link it to the same sales territory group. And when I right click on sales territory group, I'm gonna see this action. The action name is row set action. So let me select row set, and here what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna give an MDX query, and let's see how that returns the data. How it returns the row set to the when the action is triggered. So for that, I'm getting an MDX query. I have to write an MDX query. So I'm connecting to analysis services in SSMS, and let me quickly write an MDX query. So select, let me take currency key, sales amount on 0, comma, And let me take product information, product color, comma, English product name. This will be your tuple on one from cube name. So this is one simple MDX query, and let's see whether it returns the data or not. It is returning the data. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the MDX query here. And additional properties, I'm not going to set it for this one. Let it be row set action. So let me process it, and let's see whether the row set action will be shown in the actions list, additional actions list in Excel. So the queue processed successfully. Let me quickly refresh it. I did it on um, sales territory region, and you can see the row set action is showing here. If I click on the row set action, what it will do is it will trigger that, and it will get that information, and it will be written in this fashion. So this is a row set action. Similarly, a data set action where you can pass an MDX or DAX or even SQL query to return the data. And the third one, even the statement is similar, but the statement will not return anything like this. It will be like execution, like DML statements, insert, updates, and deletes, where there will be no return values, no select statements. Okay, so these are the different actions that we have in analysis services, and it's really good to know about all the actions. You may or may not get interview question from action, but it's really good to know about this. But if the interviewer asks you a question on action, he will be concentrating on drill through action and reporting action, because standard actions are not frequently used ones. So this is about actions. Now let's see about the processing pretty quickly. We're not going to spend much time on processing, which is very important though. I'll try to explain everything in less than 30 minutes. So processing, we talked about this from session 3. Every time we are processing the cube and we are reading the data, I said like it will read the data, and then it will create the aggregations and so on. Now let's see what are all the objects that you can process, and what are the different options you have while processing. So if you right click on the database level, you will have 3 options to process. There are some errors. Let me clear these errors. I added a report action, but I didn't give any definition. That's why it's saying some error in that. Now let me go and process the database level on top of the database. On the database, I'm processing, and let's see what are the different options. If you see here, processing options, the default one is processful, and there are 2 more. One is process default, and another one is process clear. So if you do process default, what it will do is it will take the status of each and every object in the database, and it will find out what processing option is suitable for that, like process add or process update or process full or don't do anything. So it will decide, the server will decide what suits better for the current status by seeing the current status of every object in the sense dimension is an object, partition is an object, cube is an object. So it will get the current status, and based on that it will decide what it has to do. So process default is one good option to go with if your cube is already processed, if your database is already processed, and if you don't know what is the exact status of the database. And the next one is process full. Before going to the process full, let's discuss about process clear. What process clear will do is it will clear everything. That's it. Nothing will be there. Only structure will be left. Completely it will be deleted, and if you try to browse this cube, it will say there is nothing. Let me try to reconnect it. The cube cannot be browsed. Verify that the cube has been deployed and processed. So now it's deleted. The process clear means it will clear everything. And process full means what it will do is it will do 2 things. First, it will clear everything, and then it will start from scratch. So let's say you have an analysis service database. This is your relational and this is your application. When you do process full, it will read from here to here for the first time. Now you have analysis service database. All the files are copied here. All the data are read and stored in the analysis server. If you apply process full again, what it will do is it will clear all this information here, and it will start from scratch. So process full, first it will do process clear, and then it will start processing the data from the relational database. So this is how the process full works, and process full is also time taking one because it has to process each and every object again from scratch. So these are the three different options that you can see at database level. So remember very well, process default, process full, and process clear. These three will be coming in every other option, every other object processing again. Now let's see the next object, that is dimensions. If I go at the and see at the dimension level, you have more. You will have this process full, process default, process clear, and process data. You know process clear. What it will do is it will clear the dimension if it is processed. And process default, the server will decide by seeing the status of the dimension object. And process full, if it is already processed, it will delete it and it will start from scratch, right? These three we already discussed. And process data is one thing. What it will do is it will process only the data. It reads the data. It won't create indexes. So the indexing part will not be taken care. It will just reads the data. Okay. Now for first time, I think it's not processed so far. Let me go with processful. So the dimension completed successfully, processing completed successfully. Now if I go for process again, you can see a few new things are added. The first one is process update is added, and another one is process index is added. So what are these two for? So when the dimension is not in processed state, earlier it was not in process state, in that case you cannot process update. So for the first time of creating the dimension, or of going, you're going to process the dimension for the first time, you need to go for process full or process default or process data, but not process update. Process update will be available only after you process full the dimension. Okay. Now process update, what it will do is it will read everything from the server, and it will make an extra copy. Let's say this is your dimension, okay, which is already processed. This is your relational database. If you apply process add, it will read everything again, and it will compare what is the changes, whether any record deleted, whether any record updated, whether any record inserted. It will compare and it will apply the changes. So process update is more time taking than process full. Remember that process full is sometimes faster than process update. So still people prefer process update. What could be the reason? Can you guess? I'm gonna give you 10 minutes of time. Guess why the process update is preferred by users than process full, even though process full takes less time than process update. So this is about process update, and now let's see about process data and process index. So process data, if you execute this, it will read only the data. The data will be read and no indexing, nothing. So if you do process data, then you have to do process indexes. There is another one, process index. So if you do process data, then you need to do process index, because it has to create indexing on top of this dimension. So process data plus process index is equal to process full or process default or process update. Depends on the status of the object. So if you do process full, what it will do, it will read the data and it will create indexes. What it will do if you do process default, it will read the data and it will create indexes. If you do process update, it will read the data and it will compare and it will apply the changes and then it will create indexes. So these three by default will create the indexes, but here if you apply process data, then you need to trigger process index to create the indexes. So these two, process data plus process index is equal to process full, kind of. So these are the different options that are available in dimension level processing. There is one more option, that is process add. What it will do is it will get only newly added, newly inserted records. It won't get everything. It will get only newly inserted records and it will assign to the dimension. It will add to the existing dimension. Process add is much faster than the remaining two, process full and process update, but it has a lot of complications. It can't predict, or it can't find the duplicate data very effectively, and it has a lot of problems. But still there is a way of doing process add, which we will be discussing very shortly. Okay, now this is the different options that you have at dimension level. Now let's go to the cube level or measure group level. If you do partition level. If you go to the cube level or partition level, you can see this stuff: process default, process full, process data, process structure, and process clear. Process clear is very well known to you. It will clear that object completely. It will delete the stuff and it will clear the object. Process default, it will pick the right status of the uh, current status of the object, and it will decide which suits better, like process full or process indexes or process clear. Let's say I clicked on process data, then I do process default. Then what it will do is it will create indexes only, because the current state of the cube object is process data complete. So what needs to be done to bring it online? So process indexes. So the server will define, will detect, and it will execute. It will decide what to execute and what suits better by seeing the current status of the object. Now process data, sorry, process default. As I said, this is for server to decide. And process full, it will erase everything and it will start from scratch. And process clear, it erases everything. And process data, what it will do is it will read only the data for the measure groups. It will not create indexes, and the dimensions are not in process state, so it is processing the dimensions first and then it will start reading the data. And here you can see that records has been read. Once it is completed, then if you go back by closing it, and if you open the processing option again, because I did process data, right? Now you can see process index. So if you click on process index, it will create the indexes on the data. You can see there is no reading of data, only creating the indexes. So these are the different options you have at the cube level, like process default, you know this very well, process full, process data, process clear, process index, and process add is just like in dimensions. It will add the newly inserted records. It will add only the new records. The process add is super good in performance compared to the process full and process default. So I prefer to go with process add, but you need to do extra work for process add, which we will be discussing in a couple of minutes. Before going to the process add, let's see the process structure. So if you see the process structure, this is a different one. This is mainly used when you are working on what you say development. When you are developing the project, this really helps. So to demonstrate the same, let me do one thing. Let me process clear the complete database. Process clear is always super fast. So this is how I delete the databases also. So deleting 1 TB sized database takes like a lot of time, like 15-20 minutes. If you process clear, it will be done within a minute, and then the size of the database will be 0 and you can easily delete it. That is how I prefer to delete. This is one tip for you guys. Now I'm going to the process here, process of the cube, and I'm selecting process structure, and if I execute it, what it will do is it will take the current state of all the dimensions that has been added to this cube, and if it is not in process state, it will process all the dimensions, and when it comes to the measure group, it will mark it as processed. It will bring online, but if you see the data is not read. Did you see? Can you see the number of records that has been read? It won't do that. What it will do is it will mark it as read. Okay, the partition is processed, or the measure group is processed. It's a kind of wrong hint or misleading, right? So what is the use of this one is the dimensions will be processed, though the measure group or partition is not processed. The cube can be, you can browse this cube. So if you have anything that you want to check at the dimension level or any partition level, you can go with processful. And if you see the sales amount, no records found, because the partition is not read. So that is the magic of process structure. Let's assume I have 15 partitions, okay, and so on, 15, and each partition takes 30 minutes to process. Let's assume. And now I have an issue in one of the partition. Users reported an issue in this partition, and I fixed that issue. What I need to do once I fix that issue, I have to process full the database, right? I have to process the whole database, and then I have to check whether the issue is fixed or not. Let's say I started processing the whole database. I have to bring the cube online. To bring the cube online, all the objects should be in process state. So all the partitions are processed and it took 5 hours, and after 5 hours I came to know that the fix is not working as expected. Then what I have to do? Again I have to fix, and again I have to process everything. Again I have to wait for 4 or 5 hours, correct? So if you use process structure, in that case, what you can do here is you can just do process structure, which will process the dimensions and which will mark all the measure groups or all the partitions as processed. Though you can't see the data, the cube will be online. In that case, what you can do is you can process only that partition, which will take like 15 to 20 minutes, and you can see whether the data is coming correctly or not. If it is coming correctly, then you can process the rest of partitions. So this is one beautiful advantage when you are working on the cube. You don't want to process everything to see whether the fix is working as expected or not. So process structure helps in that case. So this is about the process structure, which is a very important one. And the last one, process add. Oh, this is this is not processful. Let me process it. I cleared it, right? So I'm processing first before it started showing process add option. Now let me go back here, and if you see, I can use process add. So when I select this process add, you can see the configuration settings are showing. So here you need to select what is the table you need to pull. Okay, you have to be very careful here. Process add will bring all the records and it will append to the existing records. It doesn't know how many records are current. I mean, what are the new records and what are the old records. It just knows that it will bring and it will append it. Okay, if you see what is the sales amount here, 29358677. Now let me go and do process add. So I have to select the configuration. I have to provide that information. Let's say AdventureBox DW and fact internet sales is the table. If I click on OK, if I click on run, it will execute. Perfect, it's completed and it read some records. Now let's see how much is the data here. Let me reconnect it. Let me execute it. You can see the data double. It doesn't care whether it's a new record or existing record. It depends on what query you provide or what table you select in the configuration. It will read all the data from the table and it will use it. So while using process add, you have to be very careful if you want to use process add, I'm telling you. So you need to have a staging table where you will be inserting only the new records. Understood? Staging table in the sense this is your fact table, and here you will be having one staging table. Okay, this is your analysis service project. When you do process add, first time process full, it will read all the data from here. Next time you got new records, that will be in your staging table. You will do process add, by pointing to this. It will read only the new records and it will add to the partition. Now what will happen? These new records will be added here also. It will be moved here or it will be cleared. Then new set of records will come into this table, and again you will do process add on this. Remember, if you do process add by giving these tables, by giving this table, then the data will be double, triple, 10 times if you run it 10 times like I've shown you here. So while executing process add, you have to be very careful. You have to either point to the staging table where only the new records are available, or the second option is writing some query like this: select star from fact internet sales where date is equal to current date. So every day you will be getting new records and you will be checking the current date to the date value, and it will read only the current date records. And in that case also, you need to run only once. If you execute twice, the current day records will be inserted 2 times. Understood? So you have to be very careful. I suggest you to go with staging table. If you have a staging table, something like fact internet sales underscore staging, where all the new records will be inserted. You can call this, and only the new records will be pulled and it will be appended to the existing data, existing fact information. And once it read the new records will be removed from there, and again the fresh copy of data comes into the staging table. This is the best option to go with instead of having extra date column in your fact table and checking whether it is current date data or not and read it only once in a day. So this is a little complicated process add, but still people prefer it. The performance is pretty good. So these are the different processing options that you can apply. And if you connect to the SQL Server Management Studio, you can use XMLA code to do the same. If you see here, process, you can select whatever you want, process full, process default, or whatever you want. And if you click on script, it will give you the script XMLA code. This is XMLA code, and if you press F5, it will be executed. Okay, so this is how you need to you can use XMLA command. You can see it completed successfully in 9 seconds. Similarly, you can do process add and whatever you want. Let me go here. Let me go to the partition. On partition, I'm going to click on process, and I'm setting process add, and again the configuration settings. Let me select the table from here, and then let me select provide the table name. So this is gonna fact internet, this is gonna duplicate the data, but I'm showing you an example how you can script out the process add and process full. So what users will do is they'll take this script and they'll configure it in either SSIS packages, or they'll do it in partial scripting, or they'll do it in SQL Server agent jobs. So there are multiple ways of executing this command. So what they'll do is basically they'll get this XMLA command and they'll call it from the clients. And here you have to be very careful what is your source and how you are reading the source in case of process add. You can see the difference between process add and process full. It has only the process full command, but here you have to tell what is the binding information from where it has to read the incremental data. So you have to provide the information properly. So process add is also called as process incremental. This is what users prefer in real time to load only newly inserted records. Okay, there is another way of adding only or processing only current data, that is maintaining multiple partitions. Let's say today one partition will be created, only this partition will be processed, all the previous partitions will not be processed. So you will be targeting only today's data. So that is another way, but in that case there will be a lot of partitions added. The partition count will be increased, but in this case it will be only one partition, but you need to maintain an extra staging table where you will have only newly inserted data into the fact table. So the performance wise, this is better for process head, but the configuration, it's a little difficult. It's not straightforward like other processing options. So we discussed about all the processing options at all different levels. We discussed about process full, process default, process clear, process update, process data, process index, process add, and process structure. So you have to decide. Now let's go back to the question, why users prefer process update than process full of a dimension. Let's go back to that with an example. This is the cube structure. Now it is in processed state. Okay, let me reconnect it, and you can see it is in process state and I can see the data. Now let me go for process of the dimension again. I can select either process update or process full. Let me select process full. So I process the dimension. Now let me reconnect it here. You can see the cube cannot be browsed. Verify that the cube has been deployed or not. So if you do process full of any dimension, then it will have impact on the cube. The cube will be erased and the cube will be moved into unprocessed state. So that is the major disadvantage of process full of the dimensions. That is the reason people prefer to go with process update of the dimension. And if you see now here, the cube is processed again. and I can see the data. Now I'm going back to the product dimension and I'm going with the process update. Though it takes more time than the process full, the advantage is it won't make the cube into unprocessed state. It won't bring the cube offline. The cube will be online. Though you process the dimension will bring all the changes, and by continue to keep the cube online, that is the biggest advantage of process update. So these are the different processing options, and in next session we're going to discuss about roles, which is very important for security. And second thing is deployment modes, how you will deploy from database from one server to the another server. Thank you very much. Catch you in next session, guys. Have a great day.